What's the difference between a CEO and a crime boss? According to the Orzhov, nothing. Business is business and money is the only thing that matters. Stay with us to see how to make your fortune in the world of Ravnica. Hi everyone, and welcome to another profitable episode of
The Dungeon Crashers.
I'm Guy.
And I'm Zapil. Before we get started, remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share this video to help us build our financial empire. And turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our excellent D&D content. Last time we said we would do the Boros Legion build, but with Christmas and the New Year's, it just didn't get done, so we're going to go with this build instead that we already had done. Today we continue our visit to the world of Ravnica with a visit to the Orzhov Guild. The Orzhov control the financial sector of the world city, both of the legitimate banking, industries, and the underworld. Other guilds like the Rakdos might dabble in the criminal activity, but the money ultimately ends up in the pockets of the Ghost Council. The Ghost Council, called the Orzhov, are the leaders of the guild, powerful undead priests who worship only gold. Once the Orzhov were a religion, but they long ago abandoned that, but still maintain the rituals and customs they once followed. The guild is a web of debt. Each member is beholden to those above them. Debtors pay upon the threat of death, and if the debt isn't paid, they serve beyond death as undead servants. The Orzhov also control a race of artificially created slaves called thralls that perform the menial tasks of the guild. The goal of those Orzhov that are true members rather than the debtors is to advance the wealth and power until no one but the Orzhov can command them, but the road is difficult and most never reach it. Our hero begins as the lowest rung of the order as a debtor consigned to work off his debt as an undead. Maybe he was a gambler or a junkie that couldn't pay off his debts, or a failed businessman whose partners held him responsible. Unlike most, he actually managed to resolve his debt, but instead of sinking into the release of death, he made a bargain and took on a new debt as an Orzhov, trading eternal servitude in exchange for power. Now he is a member of the syndicate with the power he bargained for and a handful of coins to get him started on his way. What happens next is up to him, but his masters will always have a share of their cut.
The reborn lineage from von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft is one we've used before to represent an undead character. It is very versatile and can represent a variety of undead, and our appearance is up to our imagination. I want him to appear ghoulish, nearly skeletal, covered by thin, dry flesh stretched over his bones, and eye sockets that appear empty except for points of red light and a mouthful of shark-like teeth. In some campaign worlds, it might be better to appear as a living human with little evidence to portray our nature. But in Ravnica, undead walking the streets is not an unusual sight, and intimidation is going to be our bread and butter, so the more fearsome we can look, the better. The reborn lineage offers a number of abilities. We are considered humanoid, not undead, despite having many undead traits, kind of something of a halfway state. Our size can be medium or small, either way our movement is 30 feet. Our deathless nature confers on us a resistance to poison damage and an advantage on saves against being poisoned or diseased. We also have advantage on death saves. You don't need to eat, drink, breathe, or sleep, and can't be put to sleep, and can gain the benefit of a long rest by remaining motionless for 4 hours. While our mortal life is a distant memory, we do retain some traces of it. We gain 2 skills of our choice, and we want persuasion and perception. We need to be alert, and we'll need to get others to do what we want. We also gain memories of our past life that can be used when we make a skill check. When we roll a d20, we can also roll a d6 and add the number to the total. We can do this a number of times per day, equal to our proficiency modifier. We can speak common and one other language of our choice. If we're going into a semi-legitimate business, Badalkan or Elvish could be handy for dealing with Azorius bureaucrats. On the other hand, if we're going into more nefarious dealings, Goblin could be handy for dealing with members of the Gruul or Rakdos. Like all of the guilds, the Orzhov have a unique background. It offers the benefits that most backgrounds offer, and also adds spells to any class lists you have. We will discuss these as they become available. The background gives the skills Intimidation and Religion. Religion will be useful because while the Syndicate may have abandoned the worship of gods, it is still very much run like a religion, and this skill will help you understand the structure, hierarchy, and customs needed to function in the guild. Intimidation is going to be an even more vital social skill than Persuasion, both when collecting from debtors and commanding obedience from underlings. As an Orzhov, you gain leverage over those beneath you in the guild and can get certain services. In the beginning, it will be small things like having a message delivered, or getting free transportation, or getting a crime scene cleaned up. As you gain power in the guild, you'll be able to command greater services. You also gain proficiency with 2 languages of your choice, and any 2 that were recommended earlier would be good. And you can also ask your DM if there is a particular language that is likely to come up in the campaign.
You know, this character really makes me want to make a cyberpunk character.
I know it. This character is going to be very self-sufficient, but you will still need a crew. Other Orzhov are always good party members, but could easily put their interests above yours. Some muscle would be good to have. Thugs from the Gruul or Rakdos are common allies, or perhaps a Boros mercenary. Also, someone to gather information for you would be excellent. A corrupt Azorius bureaucrat or a Golgari who has ears on the street would be nice, and if you can identify an ally with a Dimir, that would be a huge advantage.
Mm-hmm. Reborn gain the ability score bonuses that have become common among the newer races, which are 3+1 ability bonuses that you can put anywhere you want, but no more than 2 on a single ability. We are putting an 8 on strength. Our withered frame isn't capable of great feats of strength. We put a 15 on dexterity, making it 16 with one of our bonuses. We are unnaturally quick and agile. And we put a 13 on constitution, making it 14 with another bonus. Our deathless nature makes us very resilient. And we put a 10 on both intelligence and wisdom. We can't afford a negative on either in our line of work, but we can't afford any more. If you rolled your abilities and have some above average scores available, more intelligence and wisdom would be great. Lastly, we put a 15 on charisma, making it 16 with our last bonus. Social skills are what we use to make our fortune, and this will also be our casting stat and by far our most important ability. As we have been doing with all our Ravnica builds, this is going to be a single class character. Guy and I both love multi-classing, but a single class characters can be very strong and don't need multi-classing to be flavorful as well as well-rounded. Our first in every level is going to be Warlock. At first level we get 2 skills from the Warlock list, and we want Deception to complete our social skills and Investigation to help us find out more useful information. We also get proficiency with simple weapons and light armor. We will use studded leather armor with our high dex. It will give us good protection, and we should adorn it with all sorts of decorative spikes and buckles to enhance our intimidating appearance. We won't be using weapons on a regular basis, but a dagger is a very useful tool and can be handy if we encounter an anti-magic area or an enemy that we can't hurt with spells. Our save proficiencies are wisdom and charisma. Charisma saves don't come up often, but when they do, the results of failing can be very dire, and wisdom saves are one of the most useful ones in the game. A Warlock's power comes from their patron, and the Orbzedat Ghost Council will be the undead patron from Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, and it gives you the ability Form of Dread. You can assume our Form of Dread a number of times per long rest equal to our proficiency modifier, and it lasts for 1 minute. While in this form, we gain 1d10 plus our Warlock level and temporary hit points. We are immune to the Frightened condition, and once on each of our turns, when we hit a creature with an attack, we can force it to make a Wisdom save, and if it fails, it becomes frightened of you until the end of your next turn. A frightened creature gains disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls as long as it can see you, and it can't willingly move closer to you. Your Form of Dread reflects the nature of your patron. For this character, I'm going to say it's surrounded by a ghostly aura of menace. We also gain Pack Magic, and we learn 2 cantrips from the Warlock list, and we want Eldritch Blast. This is going to be our primary mode of attack. It is a powerful and excellent range and deals force damage, which is rarely resisted. Its only drawback being is it is a ranged attack, which has disadvantage when you use it while in melee. Obviously, we are going to try to avoid that situation, but there are times when it might be better to attack with your dagger or use a spell rather than risk an attack of opportunity trying to get away from an opponent. Our background adds the Friends and Guidance cantrips to the Warlock list for us, and we want to take Guidance. It is one of the best utility cantrips in the game and is usually not available to Warlocks. We also learn 2 spells and gain a single spell slot. We get more spell slots later, but not very many. On the plus side, Pack Magic slots recover on a short rest, unlike other casters who need a long rest to recharge. Our background adds the spells Command and Illusionary Script to the Warlock list for us, and our patron gives us the spells Bane and False Life. The first spell we want is Hex. It adds a d6 to the damage of every attack when we hit. It lasts for 1 hour depending on the concentration, and our spell slots become higher level the duration increases. Our second spell we want is Charm Person, for when we need someone to be our ally and our persuasion or intimidation is insufficient. This spell only lasts for an hour, and after it ends, the victim will know you use magic on it and will become hostile, so only use it when you aren't worried about the consequences.
At second level, we gain Invocations. These are gifts from our patron that grant us innate magical abilities. We gain 2 invocations now, and we'll get more as we gain levels. Our first is Agonizing Blast. Almost every Warlock takes this, and it's what makes Eldritch Blast so powerful. It allows us to add our Charisma modifier to the damage of each beam of Eldritch Blast. With this, our attack skills as well as a fighter are the same level. For the second, we want Devil Sight. For some reason, Reborn do not gain dark vision, and this is a much better version of that ability. It has a range of 120 feet and can see through darkness, both magical and non-magical. One interesting thing that can be an issue, depending on your DM, is that rules as written, this doesn't affect your vision in dim light. So while you can see easily in total darkness, you will suffer the same disadvantage in dim light as anyone else. This seems to be an oversight, and we don't use it this way in our campaign, but talk to your DM. This ability can be very powerful if you or a member of your crew can cast magical darkness. However, unless your allies can also see in magical darkness, it could cause some problems. We also gain a second spell slot at the still first level, and learn another first level spell. Protection from evil and good is a powerful defense against fiends, fae, celestials, aberrations, elementals, and undead, all of which are pretty common foes in Ravnica. And at third level Warlock, we get a Pact boon. We can choose from Pact of the Blade, Chain, Tome, or optionally Talisman. They all focus on very different ways to play a Warlock. Blade leads the Warlock away from using cantrips and towards weapon attacks. Chain grants a familiar that is more powerful than a regular familiar, and you can use invocations to make it even more powerful. This has opened up roles like scouting and parting support. Talisman is useful for a skill-based character, and with invocations can also let the Warlock take on a defensive role. What we want is Pact of the Tome, which focuses on the Warlock's role as a caster. Our patron gives us a Book of Shadows that grants us 3 additional cantrips that can be from any spell list, but count as Warlock spells for us, and they don't need to be from the same list. Our biggest weakness in combat is that we are at a disadvantage if forced into melee, and we're going to use one of our cantrips to help with this. From the Druid list, we are taking Primal Savagery. It gives us a Bite or Claw attack that deals acid damage. 1d10 for now, and it scales with level like most damage cantrips. Not only is this effective in melee, but from a roleplay standpoint, opening up your ghoulish mouth to reveal fangs dripping with acid is extremely cool. We also want Friends, for situations where we need to succeed with Charisma check and aren't concerned with long-term consequences. For 1 minute, we gain advantage on all Charisma checks against the target, but as with Charm Person, when the duration ends, the target knows you use magic and will become hostile. This can be risky, but there are a lot of occasions where immediate results are all you need. Lastly, we want Minor Illusion. The power of this cantrip is only limited by your imagination and how much your DM rewards creative solutions. It can be used to hide from enemies, convince enemies they are caged or obstructed, create illusionary hazards or distractions, and many other possibilities. It can also just be used for cool special effects in roleplay situations. Our spell slots also become second level, and we can learn a second level spell. Our patron adds the spells Blindness, Deafness, and Phantasmal Force to the Warlock list for us, and from our background we get Enthrall, Ray of Enfeeblement, and Zone of Truth. We're going to take Mirror Image for a powerful defensive spell. We can also retrain a spell, and we're going to trade Charm Person for Suggestion, which is a more powerful and less risky way to get people to do what we want. At 4th level we get an Ability Booster feat, and we're going to take the Fey Touch feat, which will give us several advantages. It will give us the Misty Step spell and a first level enchantment or divination spell that we can cast once per day for free and cast with our spell slots. This will help with both our limited spell slots and our limited spells known. For the first level spell, we're going to take Silvery Barbs, letting us use a reaction to force someone who has succeeded on a d20 roll to re-roll the dice and use the new roll. And we can then give someone, including ourselves, advantage on the next attack roll, ability check, or save that they make in the next minute. This spell is both powerful and versatile, possibly protecting ourselves or an ally from an attack, or causing an enemy to fail a save or concentration check. This feat also gives us a +1 to Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma, and we want Charisma. We also gain another cantrip and learn another spell that can be second level. For our cantrip, we want Mind Sliver. It causes the opponent to make an intelligence save or take a d6 damage and roll a d4 and subtract it from their next saving throw. This damage also scales with level, and many enemies have poor intelligence saves, so this is another good option for enemies that get us into melee, and can also help us set up an enemy to fail an important saving throw. For our spell, we want Phantasmal Force, which can neutralize an enemy and even deal psychic damage. It is also an intelligence save, so it will be effective against many enemies. It does require concentration, so you'll have to drop Hex in order to use it.
At 5th level, our spell slots become 3rd level, and we can learn another spell that can be up 3rd level. Our background adds Bestow Curse, Speak with Dead, and Spirit Guardians to our Warlock list for us, and our patron gives us Speak with Dead as well as Phantom Steed. We want Spirit Guardians. It is a very good area of effect damage spell with a duration. It also uses concentration, so again, may interfere with other spells such as Hex and Phantasmal Force. However, it discourages enemies from closing in on you and punishes those who choose to get close. It also looks like a swarm of fiendish spirits around you, which just looks awesome. Our cantrips also improve at this level. Eldritch Blast gains a second beam, and Primal Savagery and Mind Sliver gain an additional dice of damage. We also get another invocation, and we are taking Book of Ancient Secrets. This makes us a ritual caster and allows us to inscribe rituals from any class list into our Book of Shadows that you can cast, but only as a ritual, and you can also cast any spells you know as a warlock as rituals, if they have the ritual tag. We start with 2 rituals in the book, and we can add more if we find them on our adventures, such as on a scroll or in a spellbook of a fallen enemy. Your DM may even allow you to purchase them from NPCs. We want Lehman's Tiny Hut from the Wizards list for a reliable, safe place to take long or short rests, and for the second, Identify, Detect Magic, Augury are all good choices. At 6th level, we get another gift from our patron. We have been a dutiful servant and have been making lots of money for the guild, so this is our reward. The first part of it is redundant for us, as we already don't need to eat, drink, or breathe, but the second is excellent. Once on each of our turns, when we hit a creature with an attack, we can change the damage type of our attack with necrotic damage. This is only slightly useful with Eldritch Blast, as force damage is already really good, and it would only affect one of the beams. But it would be very nice with Primal Savagery. Better yet, when using our Form of Dread, we can roll an additional dice when dealing this damage, which will really power up all of our attacks, including Eldritch Blast. This will even make us effective if we have to use our dagger for some reason. We also get another spell known that can be a 3rd level, and we want Summon Undead, which allows us to summon a putrid undead, such as a ghoul or zombie, a skeletal undead, or a ghostly one. The stat blocks for these summons are in the spell description, and will get stronger as the spell slots gain levels. All of the summons are pretty good. The skeletal one is a strong range attacker, but has pretty weak hit points. The putrid one is a melee fighter that can poison or paralyze enemies, and the ghostly one has a fly speed and can pass through solid objects and frighten enemies. The duration is up to an hour, and one of the best uses of your limited spell slots. It does require concentration, which is limiting, but is often worth it. At 7th level, our spell slots become 4th level, and we can learn another spell that can be a 4th level. Our background adds the spells Blight, Death Ward, and Lehman's Secret Chest to the Warlock list for us, and our patron adds the spells Death Ward and Greater Invisibility. The spell we want, however, is Shadows of Moil. This causes us to become heavily obscured to others and turns dim light within 10 feet of us into darkness and bright light in the same area into dim light. Many of our enemies will have dark vision, but the heavily obscured part works even against enemies that can see in the dark, and are treated as blinded regarding you, which means they fail any checks involving seeing you. Your attacks against them have advantage, and their attacks against you have disadvantage. Because of your Devil Sight, you can see through the darkness, but because of the way Devil Sight is worded, the dim light might still affect you depending on your DM. Also, until the spell ends, you have resistance to radiant damage, and if a creature within 10 feet of you attacks you, the shadows lash out, dealing 2d8 necrotic damage. This is yet another concentration spell, which is unfortunate, but as you have limited spell slots, this isn't much of a disadvantage for you as it is for other casters, since you are less likely to already have a concentration spell going. However, some spells with long durations might interfere, particularly Hex. You also gain another invocation, and we want to take Cloak of Flies. Not only is it cool, it suits the image we are going for, and it gives us advantage on intimidation checks, which are our favorite way of getting things done. It does, however, give us disadvantage on all other charisma checks, so if you need to be deceptive or diplomatic, you might want to dismiss this first. It has a radius of 5 feet, and any creature that starts its turn in the area takes poison damage equal to your charisma modifier. You can only use this once per long rest, but it lasts until you are incapacitated or you dismiss it as a bonus action. As you don't need to sleep or even trance like an elf, this shouldn't even disappear when you take a long rest, but ask your DM how they see it.
At 8th level, we gain another ability booster feat, and we want to take the Shadow Touch feat. This will let us increase our charisma to 18 and offer the same advantages we got from the Fey Touch feat. The spells it gives are Invisibility and a 1st level Necromancy or Illusion spell, and Disguise Self could be useful in situations that you don't wish to appear as a horrifying undead monstrosity. We also learn another spell that can be 4th level. Greater Invisibility is tempting, but it's yet another concentration spell, and Shadow of Moil serves a similar purpose, and we do have invisibility for stealth situations. Instead, let's take Charm Monster. It has all the advantages and disadvantages of Charm Person, but can affect a wider variety of enemies than just humanoids. At 9th level, our spell slots become 5th level, and we learn another spell that can be 5th level. This is the last level we learn new spells, and 5th level is the highest level spell slots we get. We will get higher level spells through Mystic Arcana, which we will explain later, and can still retrain a spell each time we gain a level. Our patron adds the spells Anti-Life Shell and Cloud Kill to the Warlock list for us, and our background adds Geas. Now Geas is a tricky choice as this is the only 5th level spell we're going to get, but it is too important to pass up. This is how we will make contracts with people to force them to fulfill their obligations to us. Now depending on your DM, this might not come up often, and can be more of a roleplay thing, in which case there are a number of good 5th level spells available for you to choose from. We can retrain a spell at this level, and we will retrain Phantasmal Force from Mental Prison, which is strictly a more powerful version. We also gain another invocation at this level, and we want Gift of the Protector. This allows us to write a number of names equal to our proficiency modifier, which can and should include our own. When none of these people drop to 0 hit points, it drops to 1 hit point instead. A creature can't benefit from this again until after it finishes a long rest. This is a fantastic buff for you and your allies. In 5e, being at 1 hit point is just as good at being at full, at least in terms of effectiveness in combat. This can also allow the creature the opportunity to heal itself with a spell or ability, get itself to safety, drink a healing potion, or simply finish off whatever is attacking it. You can use an action to magically erase a name from the book, either because you wish to add a different name or just because you aren't working with that person anymore. At 10th level, we get another gift from our patron. Our power and position in the guild has advanced, and we have our own operation now and a steady stream of income, and a number of underlings, and our patron has seen fit to reward us with greater power. We gain the ability Necrotic Husk. Our body is infused with necrotic energy. We are resistant to necrotic damage, and when using our form of dread, we gain immunity instead. In addition, when we are reduced to 0 hit points, we can instead use our reaction to be reduced to 1 hit point, and our body erupts with necrotic energy, dealing 2d10 plus our warlock level in damage to creatures of our choice within 30 feet. We then gain 1 level exhaustion and can't use this reaction again until we have finished 1d4 long rests. We also gain another cantrip, and Mage Hand is an excellent utility cantrip that when used creatively can solve a variety of problems.
At 11th level, we gain our first Mystic Arcanum. This is a 6th level spell that we can cast once per long rest without using a spell slot. We want Mass Suggestion. This works the same as Suggestion, except we can affect up to 12 creatures and it lasts for 24 hours. This is a powerful tool for getting exactly what we want from people, which is, of course, our goal in life, or more like unlife. Sadly, unlike spells, Mystic Arcanum can't be cast in a higher level spell slot, which denies us the opportunity to make more people serve us for longer periods of time. We also gain a 5th level spell slot for a total of 3. At 12th level, we gain another ability booster feat, and we want to cap our charisma at 20 for maximum social skills and better spell attacks and save DCs. This is especially good with an Agonizing Blast, which now adds +5 to each beam. Speaking of which, our cantrips, they improve again, giving us a 3rd beam with our Eldritch Blast and another dice of damage with our Primal Savagery and Mind Sliver. We get another invocation as well, and we want to take Barb Scribe. This allows us to scribe a number of names equal to our proficiency modifier into our Book of Shadows, and we can cast Sending to any person whose name is written in it without using a spell slot or components by writing the message in the book as well. This will let you communicate effectively with your agents and subordinates. You can also use an action to erase the name in the book, allowing you to change your network of communication as needed. At 13th level, we get our next Mystic Arcanum, which is a 7th level spell, and we are taking Finger of Death. This is a decent attack spell, dealing 7d8 plus 30 necrotic damage on a hit. However, the real value comes from its second ability. A creature killed by this spell becomes a zombie that is permanently under your control. As long as you have a subject available, such as a debtor, beggar, innocent bystander, or a disloyal underling, you can create a new zombie every day, creating a horde under your control. At 14th level, our organization has become truly impressive and far-reaching, and you are granted another gift from your patron. This is a gift of spirit projection. Once per long rest, you can detach your spirit from your body, and while in this form, your body is unconscious and in a state of suspended animation. This state lasts for 1 hour or until your concentration is broken. When the projection ends, your spirit returns to your body, or your body teleports to your spirit, your choice. Once you use this ability, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, and while projecting your spirit, you gain the following benefits. Your spirit and body gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. When you cast a spell of the Conjuration or Necromancy school, the spell doesn't require verbal or somatic components or material components that lack the gold cost. You have a flying speed equal to your walking speed and can hover. You can move through creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain, but you take 1d10 force damage if you end your turn inside a creature or an object. And while you are using your Form of Dread, once during each of your turns, when you deal necrotic damage to a creature, you regain hit points equal to half the amount of the necrotic damage dealt.
At 15th level, we gain our next Mystic Arcanum, which is 8th level, and we're taking Dominate Monster, allowing us to take control of nearly any creature for up to an hour, depending on concentration. This can be useful in combat encounters. In fact, it can outright win some, but it can also be used out of combat to gain all sorts of advantages in business ventures. We also gain another invocation, and we want to take Vision of Distant Realms, which lets us cast Arcane Eye without using a spell slot. Arcane Eye is one of the best scouting and spying spells, and being able to do it as much as you like is incredibly powerful. At 16th level, we get another ability score improvement or feat, and we're going to increase our Constitution to 16 for better hit points, Constitution saves, and concentration checks. At 17th level, we get our final Mystic Arcanum, and it's 9th level, and we are taking Psychic Scream. This is a powerful area of effect attack that deals 14d6 damage to creatures of your choice within 90 feet, and stuns them if they fail an intelligence save, or half damage and no stun if they succeed. Stunned creatures can make another intelligence save to end being stunned. As we have mentioned before, a lot of enemies are bad at intelligence saves, so this can be a very effective spell. As an added bonus, creatures that are reduced to 0 hit points have their heads explode. Our cantrips also improved for the last time. We now have 4 beams with our Eldritch Blast, and 4 dice of damage with our other attack cantrips, making us an extremely powerful combatant. At 18th level, we gain our last invocation, and we're going to take Whispers of the Grave, allowing us to cast Speak with Dead at will without using a spell slot. Speak with Dead can gain a ridiculous amount of information, and being able to do it whenever you want can be easily exploited. And at 19th level, we gain our last ability score booster feat, and this one's pretty flexible. Increasing our dexterity to 18 would give us better armor class and dexterity saves, but more Constitution would benefit us in many ways as well. We could also take the tough feat for even more hit points, but we wouldn't get the improvement to our Constitution saves and checks. We're taking the Constitution boost, but the other choices would be just as good. Finally, at 20th level, we get our capstone ability, Eldritch Master. Once per long rest, we can spend 1 minute calling on our patron and regain all of our pact magic slots. This is extremely powerful for us, as at this level it's probably common to run out of spell slots long before we can take a short rest. We can even use them all up in one particularly challenging encounter, so the ability to quickly recharge is a godsend.
I think this build really captures the spirit of the Orzhov, intimidating, manipulative, and powerful. The spells and invocations really work well to portray the godfather of the crime family or the ruthless overlord of the financial empire. Even without using spells, it can be a terrifying force in combat, and outside of combat, it has the skills to get people to do whatever it wants, and if any resist its influence, it can charm or outright dominate them. With the right rituals written in the Book of Ancient Secrets, it could get access to divination magic. Combined with the unlimited uses of Arcane Eye and Speak with Dead, it can always have more information than its enemies. And through the uses of Geas and Finger of Death, it will have countless debtors bound to its service and a legion of zombies in its command. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll take a look at our other Ravnica builds in this series. If you do, please tell us in the comments along with any suggestions or build ideas. And join us next week when we continue our tour of the plane of Ravnica with that Boros Legion build. And until next time,
Cheers!
Cheers.